race for the lead. Brandon Hanks takes it back, but the red is out. Driver on his side, exiting turn number 2.
X-Race car, a driver from Hernando, Mississippi, Brad Bowden in the Metro awnings, Baloo's Aluminum Products, Ripped Up Apparel number 8.
Well, we're doing this. This is the Letter Eat podcast. This is episode number 1. I've been pretty pumped about doing this for a while, and this has been going on for about 2 years. We've talked about it, hadn't done anything about it until, Willie, 2 weeks ago, we really started brainstorming, and I think this week was like the first real week we started putting a ton of time into it. So, I feel like it was... It's probably been 2 weeks.
Been 2 weeks, yeah.
Well, wasn't it this past Sunday y'all got together and
Well, this past Sunday we really started talking. Then Wednesday night we come in here and did our little practice.
Yeah.
Like we were trying to check the audio and the camera and everything. So it's been in the works for sure. And then we got Helmet Toter over here that showed up just to talk. We didn't see
my gear bag.
We didn't see him the whole time.
but
I
mean, I was doing what I do best.
Yeah, it's what he does best. He shows up to the racetrack with his helmet bag and he shows up to the podcast just with his cup and he's ready to sit down and talk.
How much am I getting paid for this, by the way?
How much are you getting paid? What do you mean? You're paying us. What do you mean? That's how it works. You're paying us. That's how it is in today's world. You gotta show up and pay.
Yeah, I work on percentages. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
All right. Well, I was really worried about not having enough topics because you and I were planning on racing this weekend.
Yeah.
And as it has been all year long, it's been rain out after rain out after rain out. And I've raced, I joke that I've raced 2.5 times this year because we ran once at the Mag with Outlaws. We ran one race at Riverside, and then we got through with heat races and got rained out before the feature.
I have 50 total scheduled this year. Now I'm supposed to be like around 20 right now, I think, and I've gotten 10.
Wow.
So it's been lately, like we started back in March, so we should have a whole lot more by now, but it's been a wet.
It's been terrible. But it's everybody's dealing with it.
Well, what was crazy was we were supposed to run in Peevely, Missouri, which is right outside of St. Louis. Peevely, Missouri got rained out. An hour south, Farmington, which is where I usually run my 410 sprint car at, they got to race and had been rained the previous 2 weeks, so they got to race.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And about 50 minutes to the south of that in Benton, Missouri, they
raced. I saw Ronnie and all them.
So the only place that got rained out was where we were supposed to be going.
Really?
Last night.
Well, I wish I'd have known about Farmington. We could have went.
Well, no, they was doing a B-Mod special last night.
Oh,
they weren't running
they didn't have
cars because
okay.
they're supposed to be at Peevely, so they didn't have 410s.
I got you. So I was gonna. That was my next question: is why would they be racing if Peevely was racing? But okay.
Yeah, it was a modified special last.
So we missed out. So the Hot Net was scheduled for Saturday night. It was rained out. They went ahead and called it like Thursday evening.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna go to Jacksonville and run that race because I love Jacksonville. Rained it out. And then Peevely, of course, rains out. Ohio Speed Week's been taken. They've been getting rained out, and this is. You said this. We've actually got it.
This is night 3.
Yeah, if you're watching us, right now, we've got a TV to our left. We've got Flow on right now. We're watching the B main, and this is the first race Ohio Speed Week's even got in the race. So
yeah, pretty much any Speed Week that's tried to run in the last 3 weeks, all of USCS got to run one of the
their whole deal was
their whole Speed Week got rained out. USAC midgets, they got to run, I believe, 3 out of the 6 they were going to do.
Yeah.
Most of theirs got rained out. So far, Ohio Speed Weeks, their first 2 got rained out. It's the first one they're getting to have. So anytime it's been trying to have Speed Weeks.
Everybody suffered. It's not just us, but
so from here, from the Mississippi River to Pennsylvania, has pretty much been rained out a lot this year.
Well, I can tell you who didn't get rained out. That was NARC. I was going to go into NARC first. Did you know Brad McCarver was flagging at the NARC race last night?
You have to tell me the joke here. I don't know.
That is the joke because the yellow flag come out. He bumped the button.
I did. I missed that part. I did not see that.
Brad's gonna watch this. He's gonna be mad. Look, it's just a joke.
Was this in the feature?
Yeah,
Because I didn't make it. I didn't make it through the feature.
yeah. It was like the first couple laps of the feature because Dominic was running second to James, and the caution he started slowing down. Everybody else was still going.
Oh,
Well, it was a couple people that started slowing down, and then they finally just threw the caution, and the flagman, I guess, had told him, said, "Hey, I bumped the button,"
no.
and
I missed that.
I laughed because as soon as that happened, I thought, "Dang, I think Brad McCarver's up ready to flag stand."
No, I fell
But-
asleep because it was they would do hot laps, then they would do a farming session, qualifying farming session, hot lap or heat race farming session. And so I did not make it to the beginning of the feature. They pushed on the track, and next thing I knew, it was 7:30 in the morning.
Was it that dry? They just
It was bad. It was. It started out the night that way. It was one of them things where you ate up a tire every time you went out there on the track.
Really?
So
see. I didn't
they
see
kept
anything.
they kept having to go out and rework it. Which anytime they've been there, it's basically been that way. It's
Yeah,
kind of they run basically fender cars, so
yeah.
they don't mind if those to get slick for those and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they just come in for the sprint cars. They just didn't change it up any.
I got you.
So,
See, I didn't see anything. I only watched the highlights of the A main because it was going to be late, and I knew it was going to be pretty late, and I wasn't going to be able to stay up for it. But I watched it this morning, and I just kind of laughed when I thought of, like I said, the first thing I thought about was
yeah,
Brad.
I
but
missed all.
I'm just giving him
That's
crap.
what I did. I had to watch up. I just watched the highlights.
If anything, I hope it makes him feel better to know that he's not the only one that's happened to or anything like that. I felt really bad I get secondhand embarrassment really bad. Just like this morning, there was this poor old lady was in front of us in church, and I know Puddin and Will probably heard it, but this lady, her phone started reading off the Bible, like chapter 18, and just kept talking, and she couldn't get that. I don't know if she didn't hear it or she couldn't get it turned off, but I'm sitting there and one of the guys after church was like, "Was that your phone?" I was like, "No." He said, "Well, anybody that turned around and looked at you thought it was your phone because you were back there going, making faces." And I'm like, "Yeah," because I'm getting super embarrassed for her. So, but yeah, I felt bad for Brad because I got secondhand embarrassment for him because he
Yeah.
apologized to everybody over the radio. But I just wanted to give him crap.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dominic and James McFadden fought for the lead. It had a really good race for the lead for a little while,
Yeah.
and then they got through traffic, and I don't know what happened, but James just he
turned it up.
good
Yeah.
grief, he put it on the top and just started. I saw one corner he passed 3 cars, lap cars at one time. He really started mowing through them, but
Really so far the whole NARC Speed Week has been the James McFadden show. He's won all of them but one so far, which that was at Cottage Grove is the only one he hasn't won yet. So if people that don't know, he used to race in the States here, run for the high limit sprint cars, Outlaws. Then he moved back to Australia where he's been living again, and he's come back here for like a 3-month tour in America. This was his first weekend back, and so he's off to a pretty hot start.
yeah, for real. This is his fourth. You said fourth race. I think they said on the show is like he was like
Yeah,
first before.
Yeah, he's only lost one race since he's been back into America so far.
Do you think that this will be his ride from now on? I know you said that Tanner Holmes was going to take it back over
Yeah,
in October, but do you think this is going to be a reoccurring thing, or do you think this was just a ride that was available? Or
no, if he's very successful like he has been the rest of the summer, he'll definitely come back and do it again next year. And Tanner Holmes, he's ran pretty well in that car, so I think if he can finish out the year strong in it as well, they'll probably come back and just do the same thing next year because Tanner Holmes, he has his partners with his own car
right?
that he kind of has to take care of. So it actually probably works out really well for him to start the year with them and then do, half the season with his own car to do that with the base that he's built up. Because, he's basically a YouTube kid.
Yeah.
He started a YouTube channel probably 10 years ago and built it from nothing. He has like over 80,000 followers now, but
I think he said it was his YouTube. Can you look up Tanner Holmes' YouTube?
Tanner Holmes?
Yeah, Tanner Holmes. I'm just really curious how many. I think the last time I looked, he had like 144,000. Surely it wasn't subscribers. It was,
He has 81.5 thousand.
yeah, I saw a video. I think one of his videos had like 144,000 subscribers.
yeah,
So he's really blown it up. But so when I talk about this, back to the secondhand embarrassment, to me, it feels really weird to walk around with
Oh,
your
yeah,
phone
for sure.
like this and you're recording yourself.
I know I've seen him at some of the tracks that he's been at where we've been at, and I don't I mean I know it's built him a great brand,
Yeah.
but I just don't know if I could just do that.
It's just
Word.
well, it's his personality and it works for him, and that's great. He's able to capitalize on it. But like, you know, what started this whole deal was 2 years ago when I went on my first podcast. Was now this I could do because I've been told several times like you need to do after the race stuff, like you need to post stuff, you need to tell everybody what's going on, and I was being pressed to do it, and I did it. But every time I did it, it was so uncomfortable. But then when I did the podcast with Tom in North Carolina, as soon as it was over, I thought like, man, that was fun. That was actually fun because I could have a conversation.
Well, it's
different.
like have you ever seen those videos? It's called Influencers in the Wild,
Yeah.
and it's just like these people sitting down at a restaurant and they're videoing themselves eating an entire meal,
They'll be dancing in the
Yeah, they'll be
streets doing
dancing.
TikToks and stuff.
I've never
Yeah,
seen
it's
that.
wild.
doing TikTok dances in a restaurant and stuff.
Really,
Yeah.
no, I've never seen that. But I don't know
Well, that's
this
gonna be you at the racetrack.
for real. It's not going to be me doing that. But this to me is like way more up my alley because I like to have conversation. I like to talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And I can talk the leg off this table, but I don't know. I never did like doing that. Oh, I heard you. I appreciate it, Willie. Thank you. But yeah, I prefer this, and so that was why the idea of the podcast kind of came up, just because this is kind of more my style. It doesn't seem as awkward and more natural, but yeah, Tanner has really built something, and I mean,
His merch sales, like
yeah,
he sells some merch.
and
It's all because of
there's no
the
arguing.
YouTube channel. You got to see his personality,
Yeah.
which made him like a real person. People connected with that, and
Well, he's real informative. Like if you watch his videos, he's always talking about, like why they do things on the sprint car, like what this means and what that means. He's always breaking down something. And see, to me, like if that were me and you gave me that task, I would feel like, dude, I'm gonna run out of things to post eventually. So I don't know, but
it takes the thing about it is people just act like he goes and films it and just slaps it on YouTube. But it takes a whole lot of work. That's the one thing about it is you got to have a ton of time to put into putting these videos together, and then all week long you have to keep pushing your stuff on Facebook. He puts out like a video per day on Facebook just talking about different stuff.
yeah.
It's like the content's like constantly coming out.
And
Like
see, earlier when you asked me about how much you're getting paid, see, that's why you're paying the show because that's how Willie and
Yeah.
Puddin are going to get paid.
it's just like
we have to pay
it's just
because that's going to be their job.
it's a lot that goes into doing them YouTubes. I would love
Yeah.
to do one, but it's just him and T-Mez basically are like the two
Oh yeah,
popular
Mez is really big too.
racing channels out there, and they both basically they just race. So that's what they do. Like Tanner and T-Mez edit early in the week. That's just what they sit there and do.
Yeah,
Then get ready to go race and all that stuff. Or like we have jobs and
Yeah.
you have kids. I'm about to have a kid. So
Yeah.
it's like a lot going on in life.
yes, I don't have time for all that.
Dude,
It's just
Duh.
there's not enough time in the day as it is. But all right, so I wanted to move on. So I was going to talk a little bit about Knoxville. So Friday night, first thing that came to my mind was I guess it was heat race number 2, whichever heat race Brian Brown was in.
Yeah.
Was you watching that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Did you see the start?
When he crashed.
Well, I was talking about Aaron Reitzel.
Oh,
So the guy that he gets into
yeah.
was Aaron Reitzel, who jumped the start,
Yeah.
jumped the start big. But at the same time, if you watch the accident and Puddin, if you wouldn't mind, could you pull up the wreck with Brian again? So if you watch the restart, and I don't know if it goes back far enough, but if you watch the restart, Brian Brown,
Brian Brown.
from Knoxville. Yeah, you got to get on top of it, man. Well, you're like our Jamie. But anyway, so Aaron jumps the start pretty heavily. If you watch this here, which I don't know, whoever was on the front row outside was asleep. I guess it was Baylog. So Baylog's a little bit asleep. Aaron gets the jump, and then very uncharacteristic, if you ask me. That
Let me run that back. Let me see that start again.
yeah. See, when they do the replay, it doesn't go back far enough. So Baylog's kind of high.
Okay, well I see. I mean, he went, but you're supposed to be nose to tail.
Yeah.
That's what the
He-
was.
I guess you could argue that Aaron went at the right time, but Balog did not. I don't know. Maybe he stumbled. I don't know what happened there, but
That was a rough crash.
that was a pretty rough crash.
If you ever look at Brian Brown's seat, like he technically has a full containment seat.
Yeah.
But it looks like just one of them old high back seats, and he just added like a headrest to it. If you ever look at the headrest, it's
I guess so he can see out each side. And,
Here's a
well, it's
slow
just
motion.
it doesn't close up on the head very well. The way his full containment seat is, and it rung his bell.
yeah,
Really good.
he said when he got out of the car, he was
Yeah.
asking if he was still in Knoxville, Iowa.
Yeah.
And I hate that for him. I like Brian. He's a super nice guy. But you don't. What I was about to get at was that Brian, it was kind of uncharacteristic of Brian, if you ask me, because it's not like Reitzel slid it in there late and did it dirty. I mean, he was well ahead, and Brian just kind of Brian just kind of run into the right rear of him and climbed him.
I mean, that's like we've done it before. When you run with outlaws, like you have to go. You can't,
Right.
you can't say, well, I'll try to go to the next corner here.
Yeah.
Like if there's a little bit of a hole, you have to just try to go for it.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be, especially here at Knoxville, if you scrub off a little momentum. So he was running with third or fourth there, he'd be sixth or seventh, coming off that corner. So
Talking about the seat, that just kind of made me think about this new deal that Dale Howard and those guys are running. Do you
Yeah.
you don't have one? Do
I
you?
don't have one yet.
It's like a shock absorber
Yeah.
for the seat.
They call it they call it float the seat.
Float.
So it fits onto the back like over the bar, and I don't know how to explain it, but it just kind of floats around the bar.
Mhm.
So
What's it called?
like these little things come out and just sit on top of the bar. XC gear.
XC gear.
Yeah. and
You
it
might
doesn't-
could look that up.
So basically, when you have the crash, it just moves either way. Those little polymers that are inside, they're like crush back and forth. So it just kind of sits there, not really. It bolts to the back of the seat, but then it just kind of floats on the bar. So if you have the crash, it'll move,
Sit there and move.
around.
Yeah,
It's
so
really
like
nice.
the wreck I had out of the 2.5 races I've run this year, the wreck I had at West Memphis, I just remember, if you watch the video, and I don't have this video anywhere to look up, but like if you watch the video in slow motion, the front of the car was on the ground, but at the last second, the whole back end comes down, and I'll tell you that that was one of the weirdest feelings I've ever had. Like it felt like a burning sensation from my tailbone all the way to my neck. And
Run anything like in the bottom of your seat? You have a pad or anything?
I don't even know how to tell you what it is, but like the rubber stops like on a door, like
Yeah.
on the back of the trailers and
Yeah.
things like that. We've got 2 rubber ones under my seat that's in
Under the seat.
between the bar
Yeah.
and the seat, trying to help with that, and it clearly doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I would like to do something a little bit
I don't
different.
know. I just have like a pad about this thick that's in the bottom of my
Yeah.
sit on top.
But yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking about when Brian crashed as hard as he did.
Going back to the first night at Knoxville, that was some of the best racing I've seen at Knoxville in a while.
It was good all weekend, really.
I mean, front to back, they did split screen. You had battles that's what a lot of times people, like, especially on the half miles, people talk about how the racing isn't any good. Well,
Yeah.
you only get to see the front most of the time when you're watching on streaming, but if you're there's usually stuff going on. But the way Knoxville was, I mean, it was pretty racy. Like, hell, Gravel went 8th to win.
Yeah.
Because now you don't see that very often.
Well, last year when we went to, in August for your bachelor trip,
Yeah.
it was fun. I remember the race really wasn't that great,
Yeah.
but it's the atmosphere of it that makes it so cool.
It feels different. When you
Yeah.
walk in there.
It's such a cool place, and especially when we got to go on top of the Hall of Fame and got
Yeah.
to see it from up high. Like, it's a really fun racetrack to just kind of watch. But as a race car driver, a lot of times it's really not very racy. It's not as racy as you like it. But man, the racing was actually really good this weekend, and maybe I'm a little bit biased. Have you run Knoxville?
Yeah, I was 2008 was the time I went there. It's been a long time.
Yeah, so to me, there might be maybe a little bit of jealousy. I would love to run there on a consistent basis and actually like figure it out and get better. I've only run there enough to maybe for it to be dangerous,
Yeah.
But as a driver, when I sit here and watch it, I can truly appreciate how these guys run the racetrack and how they do it so well.
It's a very technical track. And
Yeah,
like you said, you have to know where to go, when to go there.
timing's everything.
Can't follow anybody. It's you have to, like you said, you have to know your spot.
Yeah.
The best ones know their spot.
Yeah, and running the bottom is just as much of an art of any running the top at any racetrack. Running the bottom, if you can run down there on that berm like that,
Make a ton of speed.
yeah, you can carry a ton of speed and take the shorter distance. You're not all the way up there at the wall. You're not really at risk, I would say, necessarily. It's a lot safer as long as you can hit it right. But it's a very narrow spot. But and one of the best you ever watched do it is Donnie, which Donnie's kind of fell off of it a little bit.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about the whole Chevrolet Ford thing and going back to Chevrolet, that things were back to normal because he had a couple weeks where he was running better, but I didn't see Donnie.
It still hasn't clicked.
Yeah, it's still not clicking. I think they're still trying to figure it out.
But I know they got some different Fox shocks. I've never heard of them.
Really?
I think they're like late model heavy.
Really?
From what I understand, but
I didn't know that.
But yeah, he's on Fox shocks, and so people talk about that. And I know Dirt Tracker had a video of it says he runs Fox shocks, but then there was a picture where he had Penske's on. Like basically for hot laps, they had the Fox shocks on there, and then when they went to racing, they went back to Fox only now. But I don't know. It's hard to say. He's got a different crew chief and shock packages, engines. Like there's a lot of stuff going on over there.
Do you think that maybe? So that sounds kind of odd, but that they would be swapping around like that as much as they are? But do you think that David? I was looking at today. David has a 176 points lead over second, which is freaking unheard of.
This early in the year,
and this especially this early in the year.
Is that the boy at Wreck?
Yeah, that's the boy at Wreck last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I had wrote it in the notes like 0 to hero because he had that accident Tuesday night, but then he goes and wins the Outlaw race this weekend in Knoxville, and I mean he did a much better job, much more calculated. Didn't look near. I mean, there was a couple times still he was running the top and still
half miles. He'll tell you himself or not. Still not his thing.
Yeah,
but he looked good Saturday.
He did look good. And there was, like I said, there was a couple times. Anyway, what I started to say was that do you think that now David's got such a big lead that maybe somebody like Donnie, they're trying to maybe test and go to these races and try different things and try to learn something else maybe for next year?
I don't think so. I think all those guys at this point they're going to win every week.
True.
That's the way they make their money, especially the drivers. That's how they make their money is winning races, running the top three. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of experimenting and trying to figure stuff out.
Yeah.
They all want to win, no matter points.
Well, I can tell you who's not experimenting, and that's Gravel.
Oh yeah, I mean it's
Gravel.
Nights. I mean he should have won Saturday too.
Yeah, he was way faster. Where did he start? I don't have it wrote down. Where did he start?
He started sixth maybe Saturday.
Did he?
He was out. He was third or fourth row again. He didn't draw very good.
Okay, I couldn't remember where he started. And I meant to write it down and then I forgot. But he was way faster. He gained. I think Johnny said on the broadcast he gained a second and a tenth in one lap.
He was rolling
on him, and you could see it in the video with 2 to go. He was, say Corey would be going into one, and Gravel would just be before the start finish line, and then coming to the checkered. If you go back and watch the ending there was a lap car that was going around the bottom, just in front of Gravel when he tried to make the slider.
He told the Chaz that lap car wouldn't have been there. He would have got him. But he had to
check up.
He had to check up.
Yeah.
He didn't get in the back of him.
It was close. It was definitely close, but it was still a really good race. I know I joked with you last week or whenever the last time Gravel won the race that I was kind of bored with him winning so much.
Yeah.
And then you said, well, that's how I feel about Larson. And that's why I wore my Kyle Larson shirt tonight, because I wore that just for you. And I got a bunch of these. I'll probably wear them on the show.
Yeah, when it's like Outlaws only, I don't love seeing Gravel win. But when it's Outlaws versus High Limit, I want Gravel to win. I don't care if he wins then.
Well,
but I cheer him on. Then.
See, to me, it doesn't matter. So like the Larson dominance versus the Gravel dominance is not the same thing to me. I laugh when Larson wins because of what happened to him in 2020 when that whole deal went down. You know, he lost all those sponsors and got fired from his team over something goofy because everybody's in their feelings, in my opinion. And so every time he wins a race, I don't get tired of it just because of what happened to him. And I just look at it as it's just another middle finger to everybody. And I don't mind it. So, yeah, I can understand. It might get a little boring. Kind of like the Chili Bowl when him and Bell sitting there going back and forth and back and forth. It's nice to see somebody else win, but I don't hate it. I'm fine with it. But gravel, yeah. If I'm sitting here watching outlaw races week after week after week, and he's constantly winning, I think that was his 9th win this year, 9th or 10th.
He's won a lot of them.
He's won a lot of them, so it does kind of get boring, especially he's pulling out such a big lead, and you want to see somebody kind of give him a fight. And nobody really sticks out. I mean, he's running top 10 every night, consistent, just steadily putting them out.
Well, I mean, this year, it gives me some hope for the Knoxville Nationals because last couple of years for Knoxville Nationals, Larson has started on the front row. And I honestly didn't even care to watch the race because you already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And this takes away from that. So I'm hoping gravel, they can bring some of what they did over the weekend and bring that to the Nationals and hopefully make that an entertaining race,
I'm glad you brought this up because this has been a debate too recently, and I know you and I have talked about it. Should we shorten the race because of the fuel stop?
1,000%. I hate the pit stop. It's terrible.
How long can we go on fuel, do you know?
I think they said 40.
If you have a 33-gallon tank, right?
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of cautions. I honestly think just go back to 30 and just everybody go as hard as they can.
Yeah.
No saving your tires or your equipment. I mean, Donnie Schatz, I think the year that he won, he come from the B main, and I think he was in second by like right around lap 35 maybe. So it was a little bit outside the 30 lap box, but also who's to say if it was a 30-lap race, he don't push hard the whole time when he knew he had a stop where he would be able to, get going again.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just like to see it go back to 30 laps and everybody just go as hard as they can. And
I 100% agree. And see,
you can't come from 20th to win. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And too, like when everybody stops, well, then you can make their cars better.
Yeah.
Then if you're making your car better,
change tires,
that much harder.
I think maybe if you were going to keep doing it, maybe one thing I like to see was you can't change a tire. The tire you start with is what you have to finish with.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be the only thing that I would like to see.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep doing 50, I hate them slapping new tires on. Then you have a 25-lap race, and they can just go as hard as they want to.
Yeah.
The rest of it, like if you're going to make it a 50-lap race, like make the drivers think about it a little bit, especially at the end.
Well, if you're going to go that long, we might as well do 100. Just keep going. Just keep. All right, fine. We'll just put a bunch of pit stops.
Well, it was kind of like. I don't know if you watched the Eldor Dream a couple weeks ago.
That's late model.
That's the 100-lapper.
I don't watch that.
They did 100 laps at Eldora.
Guess I need to start.
And Bobby Pierce, he come in at lap 50 and put a new right rear on. And Davenport ended up winning the race. He never stopped, he just kept on going. And he made the whole 100 laps, and he won by like 10 or 8.
Wait a minute, not even for fuel?
No,
they
run gas, so it lasts them forever.
Well, I didn't know it would last them that long. Yeah, I knew it was gas, but I didn't know it would last that long.
I don't know how big the tanks are, but they fill them up. They can go 100 laps.
I'm really sorry. I know I've got no.
The longest we've had is 40 lappers.
Yeah, no, 55, and that'll kill you at Beasley.
Well, I did do the Rock and Roll 50. But,
oh yeah, I forgot about the Rock and Roll 50.
Yeah,
I missed that race. That
me personally, like I hate the long sprint car race. It's called a sprint car race for a reason. 30 laps should be about the longest that you do, in my opinion. I don't like longer sprint car races.
When I was in shape, 50 was okay. When I got worse, I got married and I had children, and my shape is now round. I'm okay with 30 laps. That's okay. I know I ran the Ironman 55 at Peevely. When was the last one I ran? I think it was 2 years ago. I can't remember. And I remember looking up at the board at lap 31, and I was slam out. And the brakes were glowing red, and like my seat was hot because I was using so much brake, and I just remember I couldn't wait to get out of that car. But no, I think Knoxville definitely should be shortened up. I don't like the pit stop idea. I don't like the changing tires. I'm kind of like you. I just want to be able to just go and get it. I mean, Shots made it from the back to second in 35 laps, so you got time, and in the right situation, some cautions, you can get there. It's possible.
Yeah, it's and like either that or put a little bit bigger tank on them, because like I hate normal races. They have too many cautions. They have to stop and get fuel again. Like I hate that.
Yeah.
But like you said, like kind of to go back to finish my Eldor Dream point.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like the pit stop thing. Like Bobby Pierce stopped at like lap 50 and got a new right rear on there. He may even got a new left rear. Had to go to the back, and he come back and finished second. Mm-hmm. But some of the guys were doing it, but he's one of the best, the best late model guys out there, and he was able to stop and get a tire.
That's what I hear.
And so that's why I don't like anything about pit stopping in dirt racing or anything like that.
Pit stops are for pavement.
You put that tire on and just make it last the whole time.
Yeah,
that's my opinion on that. And they said, but that or to put some little big. I said put Silver Crown tanks on the back.
Yeah. Well,
they run the Knoxville Nationals with Silver Crown tanks.
Well, the only argument you can say with that is if you got that big of a tank, was just that bigger of a bomb that you got on the car,
cars would be terrible if you had the.
True, you got all that weight back there. You saw how bad Carson's wreck was last year before, whenever he turned over, and that was pretty gnarly. Puddin', can you pull that up? It was Carson Macedo's, you can say like maybe fiery crash at Knoxville or something.
Chaz had it on his page.
Yeah, the Chaz probably has it on there.
Long live the Chaz, Carson Macedo.
But it was a pretty gnarly crash, and so that's the only thing that would worry me about Macedo. Macedo. Yeah, that's it right there. Yep, that's it. That's good. So if you watch this is the only thing that would worry me about having more fuel. You see the fuel going everywhere, and then it catches fire. Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely have.
And this is at Knoxville.
We definitely have issues with our fuel tanks, the way they're built. I've heard the Chaz talk about it, how they're not FIA certified or something to that effect, and we have a really big issue back there. I don't like to talk about it because I don't want to.
You don't want to bring any bad juju.
Yeah, I hate talking about it or watching it.
I would argue that
it's definitely everybody's biggest fear. Like that's the Chaz video I was telling you about right there.
Yeah,
the one you're over. He shows a whole lot more of it. It's pretty.
Yeah, this was somebody in the tower that was recording it.
Yeah, I just hate talking about it and watching them, and like I said, it's obviously our biggest fear.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. But they responded to it pretty quick. But you say you don't like talking about it. Well, I would argue that it needs to be talked about more because I don't want another Dale Senior situation where somebody has to get killed in order to do something and change something, and it's just like there's nothing. Look at Kevin Swindell. A lot of these are at Knoxville. I don't know if you noticed that, but Kevin's wreck at Knoxville. They weren't even up to speed. It was on a start of a race, and he gets paralyzed because of the car slamming down on all fours, and just the wrong angle at the wrong time, and the torque tube goes up and hits the bottom of the seat, and he gets all that blow. And so, but nothing's been done mandatory about it, and
they got some, they got those systems like the XC Gear and Chasm, with some stuff that
but nobody's making.
It's like we hope that works, but like I talked to the XC Gear guy about it. He told me, he was like, we'll never really know if it helps or hurts. Like we've done the testing and we see the G forces how it lessens the G force of impact, but we'll never truly know if we stop the back injury or not. We hope that it works, and I honestly I feel like it obviously it's got to help some.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be some good benefit.
Well, okay. Well, you make how do you know the Hans device works?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Hans device has been around. It was around before Senior was killed. But what I'm getting at is essentially that's probably what, if he'd have had that, he probably would still be alive now. And so I'm saying is after Dale's accident, they made that mandatory, and so now you haven't had that same problem. You know what I mean? So, and the way racers are is they're going to get in their own way when it comes to stuff like this. And so, like, if you made that kind of thing mandatory, we would probably stop having things like that happen.
Well, I think
the
as far as the new seat systems that are out now, a lot of it is just kind of the affordability of it all.
Well, yeah,
that's one big thing. It's hard to make that mandatory because it isn't a very expensive
right.
part of the car.
It's like a $1,500 part,
you know, and so it's kind of hard to, even the Hans, you know, you don't have to actually have you can have a head and neck restraint. I guess that technically you could still have a neck roll of some sort. Some places, I don't know, maybe the Outlaws are different, but a lot of that safety stuff, like people want it mandatory, and I understand, but it's still at the end of the day, it's very expensive.
Right, I
get
agree.
all that stuff.
I get it, and I totally get it. But there's also
that's why I kind of don't mind, you know, at your own risk type of thing.
Yeah.
If you want the new seat system, get one. If you want a Hans, get one.
Yeah.
You know, we know it's out there. We know what it takes to get it. If you're willing to race without it, I understand.
Yeah.
Then I also kind of feel like a hypocrite because then people won't put a rock guard on. But a rock guard is very cheap.
Yeah.
Stick the damn rock guard on, you won't get hit in the face with stuff.
Break your nose, break your face.
You know,
and Aaron Heitzel, and yet I don't think he learned his lesson. I think he's racing without it.
When I say something about it, you know, people get bent out of shape, like the free country and all that stuff, which I agree. But I'm just trying to save you from breaking your nose. Like,
well, what I'm saying though, my argument is I'm trying to keep you from breaking your back, and essentially never doing this again or burning. I mean, if Harley White doesn't have somebody pull her out of the car, she burns alive. And so
we have stuff too, like, you know, they have the Inferno armor now that you can spray on the suit. That gives you, you know, I believe a minute, maybe a minute and a half, like extra protection. And it's been like Chase Randall had a crash. And somebody got him a bottle of Inferno armor that night, and he put it on, and he ended up crashing, and the car, you know, went up in flames. And he says that he didn't feel any of the heat, he didn't have any burns after the fact, and so I mean that seems as if it, you know, it worked in his instant. I feel a lot better when I put mine on going out there as opposed to when I don't have it on, or the times that I haven't had it on. I feel better when I wear it.
So is there? You know, you're talking about we won't know if it works. So has somebody like put that to the test? You know, somebody spread it on and then see if they feel anything. Yeah. I mean, is that
Kevin Thomas has done? He's treated one leg and then did one leg, and he takes a blowtorch and holds it to the untreated leg. In about 5 seconds, he starts jumping back. He can already feel the heat. Well, then the leg he puts it on, he can hold the torch there, and he'll just basically just stand there, and he stands there, and he stands there.
Really?
Doesn't really feel the heat from it.
Okay. So it has been tested.
Yeah, they take a paper towel and squirt the paper towel down with it, and he'll put his hand behind the paper towel and put the blowtorch, and you can't feel any heat. It'll discolor it, but you can't feel it, and he'll do an untreated one in about 2 seconds. It's burning through the paper towel.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, they put it to some.
Well, that's good. Yeah, but going back to the fuel cell, that's the only thing that worries me is having. I guess if you've got your Inferno on, you're a lot safer, but still, it is kind of scary. Like you said, that's one of our biggest fears. Is
definitely,
especially if you're upside down. Like not even if you're upside down, you're on your side where you can't get out or anything like that, you catch on fire. Well, and you got all this fuel pouring on you, and it's a whole lot more.
I was like
than
that
usual.
Benton, Missouri, a couple weeks ago. Axle broke and the car spun around. It rolled up on its side, and it was, you know, driver's side exit down. And I'm basically just sitting there, and it goes through your head. Like, what if this thing just pops off real quick, and I can't go out the right side arm guard?
Yeah.
I guess you can maybe try to do like a mini sprint guy and go out under the wing tree, maybe.
Yeah.
But it is very scary when you're not on all fours.
My shape is round. I'm not going under that thing. But yeah, that is one of my biggest fears too, is being stuck in there. And matter of fact, the first time I ever flipped in a sprint car, I landed on the right front was hung in the fence. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I hung right front was in the fence, and I'm facing upward, and it was quiet, everybody had stopped, and I remember seeing this orange.
Like ran down the car.
Yeah.
Like ran down the frame rail or something.
Yeah, I
Very weird.
saw like this orange color coming around, like right in front of me. It was all around the engine. The car done caught on fire, and I'm stuck in the fence, and it was pretty scary. But yeah, that's the only thing that worries me about the fuel cell being too big. But I guess really either way, it's going to do what it's going to do. And maybe it's more of a security thing. Maybe we need to worry about trying to make it more secure or something like that. But I wouldn't even know where to begin. That's something people a lot smarter than me are going to have to come up with. But
there's a lot of stuff they do. Like some people put on the bottom side of it, put like call it like a crash panel, I guess, basically like a piece of aluminum on the bottom of it of the cell. So if the brake rotor comes up, it won't puncture it. I mean, there's little things you can do like that, but they're definitely a big flaw in the car for sure.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Well, all right. What else? What else? Did you have anything else? We were talking about this All-Star race. We're sitting here watching it still. You was talking about there were some people that loaded up and went home.
Yeah. This is Millstream's first race since 2016. It's been shut down. They rolled out for hot laps, and you really could not see anything that was going on the track. And I know TJ Michael loaded up, and they've been trying to work at it. It's a lot better right now for the feature. It's still pretty dusty, but like even in the heat races, you couldn't see the car that was back in the crowd. You can only see the guy out front pretty much.
It actually looks all right now. They're kind of moving around. I see top and the bottom now.
It's a lot better. I know that Sheldon Hodenshield is probably sweating right now because he just announced like 2 days ago that he's putting on a 17,000 to win outlaw show at this racetrack.
Really?
And this is
this year?
Yeah. I don't remember the date, but he's probably started sweating when he was watching this earlier. What you got anything on here? We went through the outlaw stuff. Was there anything from the outlaws we didn't cover? No, we talked about gravel.
Pretty much talked about gravel, running away with it. Did you want to talk about the NASCAR stuff? Because I had some comments I kind of want to make about something.
I was kind of try to piggyback off of the little stuff I seen.
Okay. Well, I didn't watch the whole race, but Hadley, if you could you look up the Riley Herbst accident from today? You sent me this earlier, but I did watch this part live.
I did see this. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Herbst. It's Herbst. So this happened at the NASCAR race earlier today, and he wins we don't have a segment or anything, but I would call it Idiot of the Day or Idiot of the Week or Idiot of the Year. This was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. It looked like
I have to put Mexico on there.
Yeah, put Mexico on there. Maybe it'll come up there. But so Riley spins, come out of one of these corners, and there's literally a car coming right at him, and he gasses up. It's kind of like he was trying to be. It's like trying to. Yeah, you may not. Who posted that when you did it earlier, Brad?
I sent it to you on Facebook.
Yeah, you sent it to me on Facebook.
Might be able to send it over to them.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. NASCAR posted it on Facebook, but you may not be able to.
Yeah, I believe it was a short. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a short. Yeah, that's go on down, go on. I think that's it right there. Where you see that 35 car. Is that it?
Sounds barely avoids him. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, watch this.
Maybe.
No, that's the Ricky Stenhouse. Why did it change it? So I want to talk about that too, but
yeah.
Scroll down a little bit.
Go back to the shorts again.
Scroll down. A little more. Is this it? This is it, I think. So that was Ricky.
Yeah. On the outside of it's even crazy. They show it from the outside. It's even crazier.
Watch this. What was that? Why would you do that? Like, he was spun around, so you can't see it in this video, but like he spun around back that way. He'd been better off to back up toward the wall, and he tried to just beat him across. Like this was like Highway 51 out here trying to. Oh my goodness. Yeah, you could do that on 51 when you're doing, 50 miles an hour, but oh my goodness, that was ridiculous. I don't that somebody better talk to him about that because that
Reminds
was
me a lot of. I don't know if you ever
insane.
seen Kevin Swindell was driving for Jack Roush in the I think it was called Busch Series then.
Yeah.
He was running the top 5, like having a really nice race, and a car had spun. It was at Dover. He was like in the wall. You know how it's banked really bad, and he just like tries to turn, and I guess the steering locks up, and he comes right out in front of Kevin. Kevin
Oh
slammed
wow!
and like ruined his
I don't
top
guess-
5 run.
I don't guess I remember that.
Ruined his top 5 run with Jack Roush, which I don't know.
So-
it never NASCAR thing never took off after that. It was
Yeah.
like that one incident. Just
The next dumbest thing next to it would have been, you remember that that guy that ran across racetrack, 410s were qualifying somewhere,
Oh yeah, I did
and that
see
guy ran across the racetrack.
They were qualifying.
Yeah.
Off running.
That I would put that in the same category. That was
I think it was at Placerville where that happened.
yeah, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I don't know why on earth he thought that was a good idea, but and in the Cup Series, and so I want to. Maybe I should have talked about the Ricky thing first because that would have led into the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on because I didn't want to go too long on the first episode, but the Ricky Stenhouse deal. So we thought the Hocevar thing was over with. So Hocevar and Ricky get into it a couple weeks ago.
Okay, so yeah, so I don't keep up with the NASCAR thing, but I heard that Hocevar is somebody was pissed off at him. I didn't know who it was. And I know he's pissed off some other people this
Oh
year.
yeah,
too.
he's pissed off several people.
So him and Ricky have already had an incident
Yes.
prior to
Yeah,
this.
him and Ricky got into it a couple weeks back. So Ricky, if I'm not mistaken, was a lap down. Here we go, right there. Can you play that? Not that one. It was. Can you go back? So Carson was on the lead lap, and he was pretty fast that night. He was contending for the win. Go down.
Yeah.
Should be right there.
That's it.
That one right there.
Yeah, maybe I did see it.
Yes, 2 weeks ago. So this was 2 weeks ago. I know we're watching a ad right now. So Carson was on the lead lap, fighting for the win. Ricky's a lap down. He's just trying to survive, and Carson gets to him and didn't even give him a chance. Oh, it was Nashville. That's right. Didn't even give him a chance, and just dumps him right here. I don't know. It's not a very good angle yet. There we go. You can kind of see it there. Yeah, but didn't even give him a chance. And then today Carson does something pretty similar. And see, Ricky was on Door Bumper Clear, the podcast, right after this happened, or like a week after that. And he said that they were good. They talked about it, and they were kind of joking about it at driver intros. And then play the audio if you can, Puddin', for what Ricky says right there. I don't know if they can hear it. Can you hear it? See if you can turn it up to where everybody can hear it.
Oh, so this is after the Mexico.
Yeah, this was after the Mexico race today. It's okay if people can look it up. So the funniest part about it, and we were joking about it, Moonhead had posted on Twitter that it's pretty. Mexico's pretty bad when you
Prisons are
threaten.
pretty bad. in
Yeah,
Mexico.
prisons are pretty bad in Mexico when you threaten another driver.
When you get back home.
When we get back home, I'm going to take care of you, basically. So Ricky goes over to the car. You're a lap down. No, I know.
Oh, he said. Hocevar
when we
said
get back to
stuff.
the States.
Oh, he did say that.
Yeah, he said when we get back to the States. So Mexico's pretty bad. Whenever all right, when we get back to the States, I'm gonna take care of you. That's so funny. That's it's funny coming from Ricky. When I think about Ricky fighting, all I can think about is two things. I think about the Kyle Busch thing that happened last year, where he was wearing his it was early this year, wasn't it? That was early this year at the. Where did they have?
Busch and him?
Yeah, him and Kyle Busch got into that
was,
fight.
Last year at the.
I thought it was the
track that's got revived.
I thought it was the Clash earlier this year.
No, it was at the
Or was it
All-Star race.
Was it Wilkesboro?
Wilkesboro, yeah.
Okay, yeah, him and Kyle got into a fight, and So I think about that, and then I think about that big powwow they had at Riverside years ago with Sammy.
That's pretty
So
entertaining.
Ricky will fight. There it
You
is,
probably
right there.
find it on Facebook too.
Kyle,
Or you
yeah.
can probably find the Riverside one too.
Oh yeah, okay. So it was 1 year ago. It was All-Star race. It was like a couple laps in. Kyle just same thing Carson did to him. He just didn't give him a chance. This is funny, but it's just the way he's standing. All the memes, all of it standing right there at the back of that trailer, waiting on Kyle to get there. There's always a lot of interesting fights that happen. My favorite one's the Aaron Reitzel and Wayne Johnson one throwing the bicycle. That was pretty good.
I never understand why the teams pile all in. Like, just let them scrap it out, and maybe they won't wreck each other on the track the next week.
I like the if they go down, then several of them did. Logano was the same way. Well, honestly, Ricky's dad was in the middle of that one too. So, all right, getting off of that, I just thought that was kind of funny today when he said like his little comment about going back to the States. I just thought that was funny. But so I wrote this down because I couldn't get the video to pull up, and I wasn't sure we'd be able to find it on here, but it was a really interesting comment. And I know what he meant. I know exactly what he meant. But Steve Letarte on the broadcast was talking about Shane Van Gisbergen, talking about how, he's so talented running on the road courses and whatnot. It's his background, and every driver's got their strength. Like Larson and Reddick running the top at Homestead, they're able to do it so well. And it's the race. They always seem to be up front in Bell too, and they always seem to be up front at the Homestead race. And Shane's always Shane has been awful all year long, and the only other race he's ran good at, except for today, was the road course Dakota racetrack in Texas earlier this year. But other than that, I don't know another word for it other than garbage. And so, but this is what I wanted to, and I figure we could go a little while on this, or however long you want to, but this was what Steve said. He said, and that God-given talent should be celebrated, just like when you take Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick to Miami to run the wall. They're just better at it than others, right? And he said, this is the same idea. Each of these drivers got to the top level of stock car racing because of their talent. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, because that's a lie.
Van Gisbergen?
Well, I just mean, when he says that drivers got to the top level of stock car racing because of their talent, and I understand that
very few of them do now.
Exactly. I understand that he has to sell that, but anybody that really pays close attention to the sport in general knows that that's not true. And I know what he meant. All he meant at the time was
you'd be surprised though if the average fan doesn't have any idea that a lot of them pay their way in. They all think that this NASCAR, this is the best. This is the best. This is the best.
Right.
It's actually not.
Yeah, and I know what he meant. What he was trying to say was everybody's got their own ability. They're better at this or that and other. And like Kevin Harvick was really notorious for being able to run the bottom at Atlanta before it got repaved, and he was always really fast there. So everybody's got their own little ability that they can capitalize on. But when he said it that way, when he was like, each of these drivers got to the top level of stock car racing because of their talent, I just rolled my eyes, because that's not true at all. And I'm not trying to bash the sport. I love the sport. That's why I'm doing this. I want to talk about it, but I also don't want to sit here and lie. People need to understand. I've had to explain over and over and over to people all the time that Lowe's paid Rick Hendrick for Jimmy Johnson to race that 48 car. DuPont paid Rick Hendrick, which that might be a little different, but DuPont paid for Rick Hendrick to drive that 24 car, and so on and so forth. Every sponsor, every logo you see on all these race cars, they were paying the owner for that guy to drive that race car. And
I will say though, those guys had talent.
Oh yeah, those guys. I'm not knocking their talent. I'm just saying
they had somebody that invested in.
Right. They had somebody invested in them. I'm saying without that person, they would not be there more
Yeah.
than likely. And that goes for everybody, whether you're talented or not. The only one, and you'll probably knock me for this, but the only one I can really know that I know of that didn't bring any money was, it was Ricky, Larson, and Bell. And I remember I was watching an interview with Larson. It's been several years, but they were talking about how they started going around to all the NASCAR shops, and every one of them was talking about, well, how much money do you have to spend? And he was like, I don't have any. Well, then he showed up to Ganassi, and Chip's like, well, I like winners. And Chip is the reason that Larson is even in Cup today, is because he took that chance on Larson, and to me, it wasn't really taking a chance. He wanted everything he ever got in, but he banked on the success of Chip Ganassi Racing because of somebody's talent. And right now, what's like with NASCAR dealing with this lawsuit and everything with the TV deal, the teams are trying to fight to where they get more money, to where they can pay people. They can actually go out and find the talent, and that's the whole point of that lawsuit. And so when Steve said that, just like I said, it just made me roll my eyes, because that's not how this works. Is you, the driver, anybody can about show up with a big check and buy a ride, and as long as you got the money, you can keep on keeping on. And so you cannot sell me that the best show up and race on Sundays. I would put any of the guys that we raced with, you and I raced with, on a Friday or a Saturday night up against any of them, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a ton of talented people out there, but they just don't have the backing. They don't have the money. They're like us. They have jobs. They're just doing the best they can to make it to the racetrack. And so it just irritates me to hear that. I hate hearing that. It drives me nuts. I still think you could take a ton of the dirt guys and go throw them in the NASCAR stuff, and 9 times out of 10, I feel like you get a whole lot more winners out of the dirt side than you would if you threw the NASCAR guys in the dirt stuff. And you could go back and watch the Prelude to the Dream and figure that out.
A lot of them. I mean, they're carrying the water for NASCAR when they say that type of stuff. Like, they're carrying the narrative, because NASCAR don't want anybody to think that any type of racing is above their racing, or their drivers are above their drivers. Like, Kenny Wallace is the same way. Like, he races on dirt, but he carries the water for NASCAR all the time. Just watch a video of it. He'll tell you, these drivers are the best ones in the country.
Yeah.
You know, how he talks and
Yeah.
stuff. He'll say it all the time, like, NASCAR is the best, NASCAR is this, and which he did race NASCAR for a long time.
Right.
They have these, like, little, I don't know the word gatekeeper, but that carry the narrative for them so they don't want to fall down a peg, because you really do feel like sprint car racing has a chance to catch up, maybe even take over at some point if it keeps moving in the right direction. And I think that does scare NASCAR a lot. I think they do see what they're doing with Dirt Vision and what they're doing with Flow. I think it does start to scare them a little bit.
Well, like we were talking about in our little practice run Wednesday night when we were testing all this stuff out that nobody got to hear, but we were talking about how dirt racing needs their own superstars. The late model guys are really good about keeping their superstars and having like their own thing, whereas it's like the sprint car guys. You look at Corey Day, he's like supposedly the new Kyle Larson. He's already gotten deals with Rick Hendrick, and they're going to move him into the pavement side of things, where to me, yeah, we were talking about his deal at Eagle, and then he won Knoxville, but he could stick around and be a true figure when it comes to the dirt racing. And I hate to see these guys keep going that route when we should be trying to build up dirt racing. We should be trying to make it its own branch. And right now, to me, a lot of people just look at dirt racing, sprint car racing as like a route that just goes up into this tree they call NASCAR. And don't get me wrong, I love both. I know you're not crazy about the NASCAR side. I love both. I think both have their own different talents. They've got their own different things about them that make them unique. there's things about it I really enjoy. I like the strategy. I like the trying to save the fuel and save your tires and try to be there at the end and who can outlast who. Like I kind of enjoy that, but I also like the 30 laps, get after it. Run the top, run the bottom, go through lap traffic, like just get after it. So I like both styles, but I really want dirt racing to grow and be its own thing. The only thing that worries me is that if you get so big and you get so much money involved, that what if dirt racing becomes more of a and there already is a lot of bio rides and dirt racing, but if you get a lot more money involved, are we going to see even more bio rides?
I think you would see less.
You think we'd see less?
If you got money pumped into sprint car racing, you would get it back to where
if owners were getting the money,
they would get sponsors,
right?
And they could hire who they wanted, and they could pay them the percentage, that they wanted. And I don't think the sprint car drivers have to make millions of dollars a year if they could make a better living.
Yeah,
which some of them make good livings now. But I think you could pump the money into sprint car racing. I think it would bring it back around to where you could have more car owners that would just hire guys off of talent.
Well, what's crazy is some of them do make more than cup drivers. Like dirt racing's gotten better.
Sure.
It's headed in the right direction in some ways as far as the drivers getting paid and whatnot. But
there was some nationwide kid that said he had made no money this year. He basically brought a sponsor and was racing for no money. I can't remember who it was, so maybe I shouldn't even talk about it. But yes, I mean, sprint car racing, it definitely has a chance to get there. And when I just made me think about, we started talking about NASCAR, and they're able to race on TV, and the product they're able to pack into 3 hours or whatever. So it just made me think of USAC raced on Friday or Saturday night. I think it was Friday night. Yeah, it was Friday night. They raced. They had a bunch of rain, so they kept having to redo track work and scrape the track and do this, do that. They didn't get started till about 10 o'clock. Finally got their program.
Oh yeah.
So they had like 28 USAC cars, and there was a sport class. I can't remember what the sport class was, but they had one, and they ran qualifying, heat races, features in an hour. It can be done.
Yeah.
You just have to go do it.
Yeah.
It can be done. Like they had one support class. They kind of pushed them to the end, but they kind of ran the program on through, and so it can be done. We just spend so much time trying to sell hot dogs and beer.
Yeah.
During intermissions.
Yeah.
That we take away from the program when you can run that thing fast. They just did it. I just watched it happen when USAC ran a whole program in about an hour.
Well, just like the Outlaw race when we went there earlier this year. You remember that? Rain was coming.
Yeah.
And they ran all our stuff first.
Yeah.
And we were in the trailer and loaded at like 9 o'clock.
Yes, I mean,
or earlier. It may have been 8:30. Like we started practice. Like we started hot laps at 6:30, and we were done and loaded at like 8:30.
Yeah.
So it can be done, like you said. But talking about the money thing, a lot of people. I kind of wanted to put this out there, if that's all right. So talking about the money thing, I know this firsthand. I've dealt with this firsthand. So, you grew up around sprint cars like that. Your dad did it. And we're gonna do a thing where we interview each other because I kind of want to know more about how this all got started for you and your dad, and because we've never talked about it. But I grew up around the knowing the NASCAR side of things. I didn't know sprint car racing or dirt racing like you did, and maybe that's why I don't mind. Like I'll lean that way. I like that stuff, and you're all dirt, I know.
Yeah.
But I grew up like appreciating it, and that was what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to go that route. Well, in 2012, I'll try to shorten it up a little bit. I met one of Bobby Gearhart's guys at the PRI show in Indianapolis, and Bobby had his car on display there. The ARCA car it was for Lucas Oil because Lucas Oil was on everything Bobby had. And his name was Paul. And I was over just looking at the car. Me and Dad were just walking around, and I'm looking at the car. And Paul comes over and says, "Hey, you want to drive it?" Kind of joking. And I'm 17. And I was like, "Man, yeah, I'd love to drive it. This is what I always want to do." And I told him, I drive sprint cars. And I had just won my first 360 race like a few weeks prior to this. And then he gave me a card and he said, call Bobby and see if y'all can work something out. And so on the way home from PRI, I remember Dad was like, do you really think this is Bobby's number? And I was like, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to try, you know. So we're in the truck, headed home, and Bobby Gearhart answers the phone. And we explained, he's like, yeah, Paul gave us your number or whatever and said, you know, something about testing at Daytona. And he's like, yeah, when can you be there? And it's like, you don't really know anything about me. Like, you're just gonna go off of this. This guy talked to me for maybe 30 minutes to an hour at a PRI show, and you're okay with this and kind of thing. And he's like, yeah, when can you be in Daytona? And what I've never told anybody before was the next words out of his mouth were, yeah, it's $22,000. And so
Anybody can come.
yeah, anybody can come for $22,000. And so we started calling everybody we knew after the fact. We called friends, family, just anybody that we thought would, you know, pitch in a little bit and help out. I even had probably $3 or $4 grand myself, and I just threw it in the pot. Well, we wound up coming up with $22,000. And I remember we handed it to him right there in cash at the lobby of a hotel. And I tested for the next 3 days. And then when that test was over, and the test was fun, the experience was fun, but I remember getting out of the car after the first run I made, and Dad comes to the window and he's like, "What do you think? You know, how cool is that?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's cool, but man, this ain't nothing. This is nothing like a sprint car. It's nowhere near as intense as a sprint car. Like, this is easy." Now, granted, it's Daytona. It's a big racetrack, and you know I'm sure it's a lot different at Bristol or Martinsville or even some of the shorter racetracks. I'm sure it's much, much different. But my first experience, yeah, it was really relatively easy. But you know, so I told Dad that, and then the test was over. On the third day, I got to do some drafting. As a matter of fact, I got to draft with Chris Buescher, and we ran third quick over the whole weekend. And it was they clearly gave me the third slowest car they had, but I kind of got lucky in a draft, and I was able to get third quick over the whole program, like the whole weekend.
$60,000 to get the best of them.
Oh, it gets worse. So we're standing there at the back of the hauler. The test is over. It's the third day. It's all done, and it's getting dark. And I can remember it just clear as day. I can remember it was me, Dad, Billy Gearhart, and Bobby Gearhart. We're standing at the back of the trailer, and Billy was like, "Man, we'd love to have you drive our car. Like, it would be awesome. Like, y'all are good people." And you know, he said I was a good communicator, and there was a lot of good things said. And then again, kind of like the phone call, the next words out of his mouth were, "We need $2 million." Mm-hmm. And I don't have enough friends or family to come up with $2 million. And so
Mark only runs like 20 races, don't they? Don't even run that.
Yeah, I don't know how many, but I don't know for sure I guess I was basically going to be like starting them up. I guess they were going to go buy engines and cars or whatever. I don't know. I just know that that's what they said to me. And so that's why I know that was kind of long of a rant, but that right there, that I wrote down, what Steve said, that's why that irritates the fire out of me, is because to me, that is not the best that NASCAR racing has to offer. There are people out there that are super talented, way more talented than me, than you. Yeah. You know, there are some super talented people that'll never get a chance because they don't have the money, they don't have the backing. And I really just want more people to understand that is how it works. Do I wish it was that way? Of course not. Do I hope it changes? Of course I do. I hope that over time that this can go the other way for NASCAR, for us. I hope that we can continue to see sprint car racing grow. But, you know, I don't know. But, yeah, that really gets under my skin. But well, anyway, I guess we're gonna close it up. We've been a little over an hour. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I could talk the leg off this table. I could keep going. We could keep on going. But so, do you want to consider this your first Father's Day, or are you waiting until after the baby's here?
My first.
Yeah, do you consider this your first Father's Day?
No, we're gonna
Yeah.
wait till the baby.
Okay, all right. I was the same way, but
Yeah.
I'll say happy early Father's Day
I
to you.
think, yeah.
But-
Happy Father's Day.
I appreciate it. But yeah, we got to do the first show on Father's Day. So I really hate, it was kind of some bad timing on our part. So Bo Phillips is a really close friend of ours. He's going to be on the show. He's on a bus headed to church camp, probably already there by now, but he'll be with us too. But I'm excited. We're going to try to record every Sunday night. Of course, for the first show, we're going to be playing with everything. Me and Will are going to get together and we're going to go over how we want to do this. So I don't know when we'll put the show out just yet, but we're going to try to get on a schedule, make sure we're releasing at the same time every week. So if you want to listen to us, hey, Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon or whatever, we're going to try to make sure we put out something at the same time every week. And I'm looking forward to doing this. I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but
We'll get better.
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun moving forward. But yeah, man, had a good time. I can't wait to see what comes of this. I know Will and Puddin are looking forward to it too. We've been talking about it day in and day out. Will and I talk on the phone like 2 or 3 hours at a time, like 2 or 3 times a day.
Brandon calls me and I don't answer. I was like, I'm not talking about the podcast right now.
I've called him more in the last 4 days than probably the whole 6 years you've been around. And the biggest thing was the name. None of us could agree on a name. But I finally just told Will in the truck yesterday, we had a mic go bad, and I told Will, I'm like, all right, tomorrow we're doing this thing. We've got to have a name before I go to bed tonight. Like, this has got to happen. So I just called him. I said, we're doing Letter E. Just deal with it. And he said, I kind of like that anyway. So it's not bad, but that's what we're going with. But well, I appreciate y'all listening, all 2 of you. Hopefully there's more than that.
Yeah.
But I had a good time either way. But I'm excited to see where this goes. But thank y'all for listening.
Look forward to the next one.